So we're doing Hiragana today, and we'll be going over how you can recall what each character resembles in Romanji with the sounds romanized. So we'll start with the single vowel characters, and those would be a, I, U, E, and O. So those romanized would just be A, I, U, E, and O. Okay, so we're going to start with the A or A Hiragana character. So let's just kind of clear up some space real quick. So the A character, it starts with slightly, let me redo that. It starts with a slightly curved line to the right. Like this, slightly curved to the right. And the second line that you make is like making a fish. And you just try to make that loop right there. So if I make it over here again. So you try, it's basically making a fish, but you try to make that circle. So you don't try to make it this thin. This is not kind of what you want. You want to be more like that. And then the third and final stroke is just a line across the top. Yeah. So now this isn't the prettiest one, but if we just enlarge it real quick to see it. So looking at this character, a way to remember it that I found, what my teacher told me seemed to be what most online sources also say that you should put, this should be for it, is that you can make an A out of this opening right here. This opening that is made creates an A shape. So that's why, that's a way to remember. It makes the ah sound, A, for Romanji. That's a very easy, quick one. There's nothing too much else to it. Some mistakes that can be made are just the proportion wise. So you don't want to be straight down line and doing that. That is not, you want to be slightly curved. And then the fish that you make, you don't want the A, the triangle that's made that makes the A, you don't want that being too small. So that right there is good, just it's curved the wrong way. Here that's pretty small. You don't really want that. So you want to be kind of like this is pretty balanced. That's pretty good. And you don't want the cross that you make too high or too low, because if you do it too high, that doesn't really look too good. You do too low, it might connect to that and might make it look a little weird. So hopefully that kind of helps. But the main thing with remembering what sound this makes is find that A in it. That really helps. The next character is the I. It's romanized by the letter I, but it makes the E sound. So a, I, U, E, O. So that's one thing that kind of got some people, including me, in my beginner Japanese class confused, is that the sound it makes sounds like you're saying E, but it's like saying but it's romanized by the letter I. So, and it's two strokes. That and that. That is how you write it. So this hiragana is one that I had issues with and still have some issues with. Mainly because it's very, for me at least, it's very hard for me to do it fast and to do it right. Like, uh, and then I just get wrong sometimes. But to remember what sound this makes, to me, it looks like it's romanized letter I, but with the dot on top falling down. I don't know if you can see that. So pretend that is that, and this is the dot. So I just saw like someone pushed off the dot off the top of the I, and it's falling, and that's the E hiragana, or romanized by the letter I. And if you're having trouble like what sound it makes, think of the word T. After the T sound, the EA, that's kind of sound it makes. E. That's what sound this makes. If that helps at all. But that is the hiragana for the sound E. The next one will be for U, and that is two strokes. That. Now this one is kind of easy, but when we get to later ones, you can get confused with ones that look similar to it. So so what kind of stuck out to me first is that well, it makes the romanji for U, and it looks like there's a U here, and it's U is the sound. Now, the issue with just saying, oh, this has a U shape, so it makes the U sound, is that there's other hiragana that use this shape. So, what kind of helped me to just differentiate it is I just thought about it as it's the U with the elongation symbol on the top. Even if that's maybe not correct, I'd have to double check. But I just see it like that. I'm like, ooh, this is the ooh hiragana. Now, issues with this is that people make things too straight. That's wrong. You want to tilt down that first line and then tilt. I'm trying to reword it correctly. So it goes down left to right for that first stroke, and then the U is angled down to the left. And you don't want the two ends to match. You want the front one to be more ahead than the bottom one. So you don't want to do that. You want it to be more like that. That is probably another issue that some people had in my class, including me, is making sure that it doesn't meet there. So if I drew let me see if I can draw a dotted line straight. You see how that still has some space there? That's what you want. You don't want it meeting that poorly drawn dotted line I made. That is the ooh hiragana. Now the next one is the hiragana, romanized by the letter E. It makes the eh sound. So this one is kind of, it's a little harder to connect E to it. To me, how I kind of remembered it is that some places in the world say Z as Z, and it has that eh sound in it. And this Romanji kind of looks like a Z. And then that little dash on top, I know some people, including me, write Z like this with that dash. So I just kind of think that dash goes on top, and I think Z, eh, eh. I think that's how I would spell Z romanized. Z, yeah, and it's the eh sound. And one thing you have to remember is that first stroke is slanted, go over, down, and a curve or a wave. So it's two, the stroke order, there's two. There's two strokes to the stroke order. One, two. So just pretend you're writing a Z, and then when you reach this bottom left corner, you do a wave. Now, one thing you want to make sure is don't connect with any of these slants here. Don't connect it to the main body part of the character. You do not want to do, that's a little too close. You want it to be like, oh, that's a little too close too. I just wanted to get that wave notion there. You don't want to exaggerate as much as that because that's starting to look like a different character, but this is the this is actually a pretty good example of what you want your character to look like. Alright, this makes the eh sound. Ah, e, u, eh. Oh, it's the eh. And that's what it looks like. Stroke order of 2. Now we'll do the O hiragana, which this hiragana I got mixed up a lot with the A hiragana or the ah hiragana. Now I see two ways of writing it. I think there's a little bit of difference here. It's this back loop right here. In some things, in some writings, I see it not like that. That's very exaggerated. That's wrong. But I see it more pronounced. And in other writings, I see it really sharp like that. Now, either one of those are right from what I could tell. But I try to stick to it looking more like this and that and not so exaggerated like that. And again, I got this one mixed up a lot with the ah hiragana, which to remind you, this is the ah hiragana. To me, I mix these two up a lot. Or when I was writing the O, I'd forget that dash. That dash is very important. Because if you don't have that dash, then it's not the O. And it's romanized by the letter O. And it makes the O sound like you're saying oh, kind of. Oh, yeah. Let me get rid of this A so people don't get too confused. Now, to memorize that this makes the O sound, what I found a lot online and also my teacher specifically is that you could see that it makes an O in this little loop right there. And that little loop making an O is what I kind of just went off of. Because if you go back to the A, it does make an O, but the A is more prominent. And in here, it just looks like an unfinished A, kind of. Yeah. Or these, it's kind of Uh, if you can, I don't know if you can understand this like I did, because I firsthandly got confused between these two. Is, I mean, you can see an O in that little pocket there, but you want to see the A. And in this one, you can't see an A, but you can see an O. And it's just when I was quickly reading the hiragana, I would mix them up. Even if there was a slash, I would mix them up. Well, that's a very easily fixed notion, and it gets easier over time. But the O hiragana, romanized by the letter O, is this. Now, one thing that you want to make sure not to mess up on, like I said earlier, you don't want it to be too exaggerated, that loop, but you don't want it to be too small. That's good. It's a little messy. My handwriting needs some work. That top cross should not be too long. From what I can, from what I've seen, you don't want it going over that dash, and you want to. It's also the second stroke in the stroke order, so it goes that, that. Dash is the last. Now, you don't want the dash to be too big or too straight. And also, the line going down doesn't have to be curved. So it's not like the A where it goes like that. You can go straight down and then it loops, and that's the O. Now, again, a lot of these from mine is not pretty. I'm just getting used to the online tablet, but it comes across, to me at least, maybe that's not good enough, but to me at least, it comes across as the O. There's a lot of sources online that help you with calligraphy and with just writing out the letters. It's the same as when you're kids. If English is your first language, it's the same as when you're a kid learning English. It's just a lot of repetition and making it a part of your everyday life that gets it to a point of it being easier. So it's really just repetition, repetition, repetition. And now there's not really any stories with these first uh, hiragana, because they kind of make the letters. The In later hiragana, there will be stories to them, but that's gonna be the end of this quick video of it just going over e, u, eh, and o. In the next video, we will be going over the next set of 5, which will be ka, ki, ku, ke, and ko. Now that doesn't look very pretty, but hopefully it'll look better in the next video. But these are the next ones we'll be going over. So see you then.